ISKCON Parental Sila A.C. Bhakti Swami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa. Parivraj Acharya Stotra Satasa Simanas Vangris. Bhakti Siddhanta Sarasvata Goswami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Kaur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kahao Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasudeva Sri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Mathuradam Ki Jai. Smayapana Dam Ki Jai. Jaganapura Dam Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Samatatos Devi Bhakta Devi Ki Jai. Sama Devi Bhakta Devi Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanand. All glory is to the Son of the Devotees. All glory is to the Son of the Devotees. All glory is to the Son of the Devotees. All glory is to the Lord of the Ram. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namasritya Naram Cheva Narodhamam Devim Saraswati Vyamsa Nastapaye Sabhadrisu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavaiti Naistiki. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 8, Text 26. Title of this chapter is Lord Krishna shows the universal form. Text 26. Kalena pena rajase Rama Krishnascha Gokule Agrista Janubi Pabi Vichakramantu Angasa Kalenalpin Rajase Rama Krishnascha Gokule Agrista Janubi Pabi Vichakrama tu Anjasa Comes on,
Kalena Pinarachase Rama Krishna Chagokule Vista Janubi Paddi Vichakamatu Anjasa Kalena Pinarachase Rama Krishna Chagokule Agrista Janubi Padbi Vichakramatu Anjasa Kalinalpi Narajashe Rama Krishna Shagokule Agrista Janubi Padbi Vichakramatu Anjasa.
anyone else? The man. Man.
Kalena Pinarajashe Rama Krishna Chagokule Agrista Janubi Padvi Vichakramatu Anjasa.
Ladies?
Kalena Pinarajase Rama Krishna Chagokule Krishna Janubi Patria Vichakramatu Anjasa.
Any more ladies?
Kalenalpena Rajarshe Rama Krishna Shagokule Agrista Janubir Padvi Vichakramatur Anjasa.
Okay, thank you very much. Word for word translation and translation and purport by the followers of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please can you respond and repeat? Kalena Alpena. Within a very short time. Rajase. O King Maharaj Parikshit. Ramaha Krishnaha cha. Both Rama and Krishna. Gokule. In the village of Gokul. Agrishta Janbi. Within the help of crawling on their knees. Sorry. Without the help of crawling on their knees. Part B. By their legs alone. Vichakramatu began to walk. And just saw very easily. Translation. O King Parikshit, within a very short time, both Rama and Krishna began to walk very easily in Gokul on their legs by their own strength without the need to crawl. Please kindly respond with the please. O King Parikshit, within a very short time, both Rama and Krishna began to walk very easily in Gokul on their legs by their own strength without the need to crawl. Instead of crawling with their knees, the babies will now stand up by holding on to something and walk little by little without difficulty by the strength of their legs. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda Sahodata, Godadaya Puspavanto, Chita Chandra Tamam. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadara, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vichara Nirvisesa Samyavara Pancha Kalpatari Vichara
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
So thank you everyone for coming to participate in this segment of the morning program, hearing from the Bhagavatam. So this series of this text is showing us the different activities that Krishna and Balaram, or the processes of development that they went through. The child development is a very demanding situation in family life. And so, in most cases, people marry without understanding, or people want to produce children without understanding child development, and it causes a lot of problems. And even before you get to child development or child caring, sometimes, I don't know because it's, I can't say all the time. I've not conducted quantitative research to make that generalization. So sometimes we'll find also men and women who get married without even understanding the psychology of men or psychology of women. And so they experiment with each other. And then they bring forth children, they don't understand anything about child development, and then they experiment with the child. It's called trinomial, trial and error. So, we find this situation with Krishna and Balaram. In this chapter, we see how even the parents, they were in anxiety. but not our type of anxiety that will lead you to a therapist. We have anxieties is not so good because the anxieties are simply based on our needs, our social needs, ecological or emotional needs. And sometimes these anxieties can lead us to very devastating consequences that people have to see specialists to deal with it. And just like anything that we have, any emotions we have here in the material world, those emotions are also very much having their roots in the spiritual world. But here in the material world, the psychology is completely different. It's a perverted reflection of what is obtainable or the perfection of the spiritual emotions. And as the child is beginning to grow, we'll find so much of challenges that the child has to pass through. And sometimes even the parents don't seem to understand what the child is passing through. And so we'll find that if you read the Bhagavatam very scrutinizingly, the things that people need to know, even in rearing their children, they are valuable in the Bhagavatam. They are valuable in the Vedic literature. Like you find situations where Mother Yasoda, this stage of Krishna is the Kumara stage, from age 1 to 5. But even as Krishna went into Puganda stage of his life, the mother and the father were still very much available, very much caring. Why? Because the caring of the child, especially in the early stages of life, creates a lot of bonding with the child. And that bonding helps with the child's psychological, emotional, and cognitive developments. Therefore, we find that in the Vedic culture, parents were very much available for their children. The mother was very much available for the child. But sometimes people tend to make that correlation and make a wrong assertion or wrong decision, thinking we are in the Satya Yuga. We are not in the Satya Yuga. Because there are arguments also sometimes that, the Vedic literature, the Vedic culture, we have to live by the Vedic culture. So women should not work. Women should just be at home to take care of the home. Good for you. Well, if the breadwinner is bringing so much of fun, no problem. But in some cases, it's very challenging. Because the child needs not just bread and butter, they need also our attention, quality time. And so, especially when during this Kumara age, the parents have to watch, especially the mother has to become, it's like a security guard for the child. Watch it every time. The attention is on the child. Because any little inattention could create some devastation. Some kids, they tie bells around their waist or around their ankles. Yeah, these things are still going on. So, Krishna and Balaram, they are showing us how the life of a child, what the life of a child could be. In some cases, the child is very restless, and Krishna also, he does a lot of naughty things, and that resulted to even being tied up by Mother Yasoda with a rope to a wooden grinding mortar. So, essentially, to take care of a child, to give birth to a child is one thing. To take care of that child, groom that child, nurture that child to maturity, that is the main challenge. Anybody can have sex and produce a child. Why not? It is grooming. Being responsible for the child, taking care of the child, nurturing the child. And if you're a devotee, it's even more demanding. Now you have to make the child Krishna conscious. And if that is not forthcoming, then, people point accusing fingers at you. Oh. You preach so much, but look at what your child is doing. Yeah, that's how parents get blamed. We cannot blame the child. It is the consciousness of the parents, collective consciousness of the parents, that invoke a particular soul into the womb of the mother, womb of the wife. And we see here the descriptions are given how from crawling in the courtyard of Nara Maharaj to standing up and trying to walk. These are the processes the child has to pass through. Who likes to be creeping? Who likes to be crawling? Anybody here likes to be crawling instead of walking? No, I'm serious. Does anybody here prefer to be crawling instead of walking? No. So, is the child enjoying? The crawling child, is he or she enjoying? No. So when the child gets up, passes the stage of crawling and then gets up and begins to learn how to walk, that is a great milestone in the life of the child and also in the parenting process. Because some children, it takes a long time to walk, and Krishna Balaram is mentioned here within a metacognitive time frame. In other words, within a short time frame, we started walking. They're small boys. They're small boys, smart. It takes only smart kids to start walking early. So, even when they start walking, the eyes of the mother is always focused on the child. And people wonder why, most male children, they care for their mother more than their father. Father provides the money, but father may not be there to take all the anxieties of the naughty child. The mother has to run back and forth. And so, during the crawling stage, it's very tedious for the child. It's not, when the child is crawling, it's not that they are enjoying. Let's get these points clear so that we know my child is suffering. He's not enjoying. And when they start getting up, like here is mentioned, Krishna Balaram, as they start getting up without anyone's help, and then start learning to walk. That is a big milestone for the child. They're in dexterity. Whoo! I passed the exam. Well, the situation is such that they see other people walking very briskly, fast, and so the child gets up and he also wants to walk like that. And then he falls. And he falls down. And then they start crying, and the mother has to come, or the father has to come and encourage them, motivate them, please get up, try again, get up. So having to pass through the stage of Kumara, especially the first 1 year, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, is very challenging. And it requires a lot of attention for the child. And at this very moment, we know this is a wonderful arrangement of Krishna to teach parents how to be alert and how to be caring to their children. Because inattention in child care, could be very devastating. There are children who move out of their apprentices with just few minutes of inattention from the parents. My friend in London was telling me how his last child, a girl, one day, this little girl, they live in an isolated area. One day, the little girl just walked out of the gate. They saw it on the screen. They have cameras, so they saw it on the screen, and they have to run out, go out. Yes, a nurturing child could be very, very challenging. And the idea of Krishna having to pass through all these stages is also to demonstrate his special mercy on parents. And we read in the Govinda Niramita, we find how Mother Yasoda was always very much allowed. She will see that before even Krishna goes to bed, he'll come to meet Krishna and offer to give some prasad. Why? Because she was in anxiety that it's going to be a whole long night. So please eat something before you sleep. In most cases, we just pray for our child to go and sleep, to give us a breathing space, right? There's too much disturbance. Oh, he's sleeping. Oh, gosh. But Mother Yasoda was not like that. So she will go. These descriptions are given very vividly in Govinda Lilamrita. She will go and then pass with Krishna to eat something before he sleeps. At least if he couldn't eat anything, he should take some sweets. So child rearing requires a lot of art, the art of petting. Mm-hmm. And if we are not ready, if we are not composed enough, we should not make an attempt to have a child. Because the emotions that the child, that we radiate, the energies we radiate, that's one of the major factors that help to build up the child's future. So if we're taking care of the child all with grudge and annoyance, we see the child as a source of disturbance to our lives. Why would you have sex to produce the child? If you're not ready for the juice, the disturbance that the child gives the parents, that is the juice of parenting. Sometimes some juice may not really be very sugary, but they are very, very medicinal. Isn't it? Correct? So, we don't find situations where Mother Yasoda was at peace during the Kumara stage of Krishna's life. We don't find any place where she was just, as a parent, she was in bliss. She was always in anxiety. And therefore it is important for us to understand that the anxiety experienced by the parents of Lord Krishna because of his naughty behavior, that is to be considered not a material anxiety, like Maharaja mentioned yesterday. And therefore, if we read especially the life of Krishna and how Mother Yasoda and her husband took care of Lord Krishna and Balaram, Rohini, how they took care of these two kids, we can learn a lot how to nurture our children and not to become bullies. So one of the things that sometimes some people don't seem to understand like the child is under your care, you are the parent, but actually you are just a caretaker. How is that? Do something. I don't know the case in France, but in America, do something to the child. Do something hurtful to the child because it's a property. The child is not your property. You are a property. You are just a caretaker. The government is the property of the government. Otherwise, do anything to your child, they will call the police. And you're gone. And so, this should give us an idea of how we should be very caring. The emphasis has been placed. Even Prabhupada repeatedly mentioned this, how we should be very careful in taking charge of our wards, taking good care of our children. We cannot also use devotional service as a smoke screen in abusing our children. There are several ways we can abuse our children. One way is not to give them quality time. One may say, well, I'm busy doing services all through, so I don't have the time. You don't have the time. Why you invoke the child to come? So we need to stop using Krishna as a facade in emotionally abusing our children. There is no time that Yashoda says that she is too busy to be attentive to Krishna's needs. And even the little inattention, Krishna taught her a lesson. A little inattention. So children don't want inattention from their mother. They are supposed to be the deity. Yeah. And rearing of children is not an easy job. If you say it's easy, you never tried it. And you ask any of the mothers who have reared a child to adolescent, it's always a problem. And in some cases also we do not know what challenges, the psychological challenges or biological challenges the child has to pass through. Just because we were never taught doesn't mean that it is justifiable to be ignorant about this. I travel around because I mentioned this because this is this is one of my areas of specialization when I was doing my master's in advancement of philosophy for children. Now, I remember sometime I was traveling in the US and I went to Pittsburgh. So a young couple, they came to pick me. I was going to stay with them for the period I was going to be in the area for some programs. They had a 6-year-old boy and a 12 years old boy at the time. When we boarded the car, they initiated the discussion. And what was it? It's about the 12-year-old boy. All through the drive from the airport to their home, I didn't say a word. So when we got home, as we entered their building, their house, there was a dining hall by the right. So I said, hey, Maharaja, Prabhu, can you sit here? So I sat there, then asked them to sit. And then I said, they were talking, and now I want to answer them. So I turned to the lady, a young lady, 12 years old is her first child. So I mentioned all these things that she does to that boy, and the behavior of the boy, how the boy just keeps mute after her actions and all these things. And she asked me, Maharaj, how did you know? You don't live with us. I studied these things. I directly accuse that you are the cause of the problem. I don't mix words. And I know the attitude of parents. Simply because the parent is ignorant about child development or child psychology, we should not use that as a yardstick to measure our emotional inordinances to our children. The children are parts and parcels of Krishna. We read about Krishna, we enjoy the pastimes, right? But our children are parts and parcels of Krishna. Are we really giving quality time to our children? We want to preach to bring people to devotional service, but the people we have, are we really nurturing them, keeping a balance of Krishna consciousness and their professional development? So sometimes people don't talk about this, and we don't talk about these things in our classes because we read the pastimes and we get purified. Good for you, but you're producing also children. I met a friend in Washington, D.C., is a PhD in economics, and the children, I think he had 3 kids, they used to come to the temple with him. I asked about the boy. He said, the boy got a scholarship at MIT, that is one of the Ivy Leagues in America. But then he said, but he doesn't come to the temple anymore. I said, what happened? He said, when the boy entered MIT, one day he came home, and he sat him down and told him, I'm warning very seriously. Warn the father very seriously. I'm not going with you to your temple anymore. I'm an adult now. Yeah. Forcing our children is not ultimately going to solve the problem. Nurturing our children in Krishna consciousness will do a lot of good in sustaining the child's interest in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes the parents think they are the authorities, but they forget that even the child is part and parcel of Krishna. And the way we take care of our gurus and the senior people who come to our communities, that is exactly the attention we should give to our children. Otherwise, they grow up at some point in time and they abandon your devotional culture. The boy I was talking about, that the parents were complaining in the car all through, when he graduated from the university, he told the parents the only thing he will do is just to be a vegetarian. He's not going to chant, he's not going to do any other thing. And he's an adult, what can you do? It is the mode of the parenting. Before people should produce children, I always suggest take some courses on parenting. So it's important that we see Christians respond. The least inattention that he experienced from Mother Yasoda, he wreaked havoc in the house. What does that tell us? We read these leelas, but what is the implication of that to family development? So, back to the point. I'm sorry, but, people don't talk these things, and this is a chance to explore, because we're talking about Krishna's childhood pastime, Kumara. In fact, the cultivation of Krishna consciousness for the child, Prahlad said it should begin from the Kumara stage. And sometimes people say, I don't want to force my child. So you wait until they get married before you start instilling in Krishna consciousness in them, right? Until when they go to college. I've seen children that 13 years old, they have taken initiation. I've also seen children that 18, they want to go to college, but they are not chanting. They are not chanting. And then they tell the parents should arrange for them to get a flat near the university. They want to be independent. It's time to be independent. And to independent to do what? To be Krishna conscious? No. So parents, we have a lot of responsibility to nurturing our children in Krishna consciousness. The children are the bedrock of our future. We will make devotees out there, but the children born in this movement are the bedrock of our future. And therefore, people who are in the child production industry should be very much aware of this very basic or fundamental principle. That we have a society, and our society will flourish based on the quality of children that we are invoking into the society now. So we're seeing how little Krishna Balaram, they got up, they start walking. When our children start walking, we enjoy it, we are in bliss. It's a milestone. But do we really recognize how much they have suffered before they get to that stage of walking? You think a child, who amongst us here would like to poo and wrap themselves up with the poo? The child is wrapped up with poo. All in the name of diaper. Who wants to hang out, hang around, even get close to stool? Their own stool. You go to the toilet, you flush up quickly and then you get up. Is it? So let's understand what children are passing through, how challenging it is. So that if we are not ready, we don't bring forth a child. Text 27. Therefore, Lord Krishna, along with Balaram, began to play with the other children of the cowherd man, thus awakening the transcendental bliss of the cowherd women. Purport. The word Saharama, meaning along with Balaram, is significant in this verse. In such transcendental pastimes, Krishna is the chief here, and Balaram provides additional help. So, Krishna was always very respectful to Balaram. Yeah, he's a naughty child. He could even be naughty to his parents, but he was always very respectful to Balaram, because that is his older brother. And do you think that Krishna enjoyed the company of Balaram? Of course he did. There is a lot of sociological nurturing that the child derives by being the company of another child, not to speak of their sibling. I've seen cases where, parents choose to have a single child, but then that single child is deprived of so many benefits that accrues from association with a sibling. Sometimes we don't really consult any specialist, we just decide to do what we want to do because it's our money, it's our spouse, that's it. So, Krishna is showing us a lot of things when he comes. When he comes, especially he has his brothers, that was mentioned also the other day. He had his brothers, even when he came as Lord Ramachandra. He came as Krishna, Balaram is there. And therefore, it is important to understand that children want the company of other children. They want people to play with. They want people to have exchanges. They want siblings to bond with, to feel protected. We find that when Krishna goes out to play, Mother Yasoda will ask Balaram to go and fetch him to bring him back if he's getting late and he has not eaten. That is caring. That is love. Sometimes our children go out and we're just happy that we're not going to cook. This disturbance is less now. I'm not going to have my time to cook. I remember somebody invited me to come and stay with them. I was a different driver, so I went to Pittsburgh. And then one lady, she came and they started inviting me to come over to their place. I said, why are you asking me to come? And then I remember the answer she gave. He said, because it's so easy. It's so easy to take care of you. I don't have to cook in the morning. Because at that time I was not eating in the morning. I was eating only at 2 o'clock. He said, it's so easy to take care of you, so please you come. But then when I saw that, she was very ready, it gives her pleasure to take care of the child, to cook for the child, for the family. You see, when we allow our children to be eating burger outside, buy biscuit, buy bread, and all those things, what did Krishna say in the Gita? He said even the so-called veg that is not offered to him is what? Sin. So we buy biscuits for our children, we buy crackers for our children out there, or give them money to buy all this when they go to school. We are really giving them poison. Yet it's not meat, but it's not healthy for the child's spiritual consciousness. Because the person who makes those biscuits and bread, those grains, any grains cooked by non-devotees, the mentality of the cook goes into the grains. And that's why in the West, there is so much of divorces, because one of the reasons is that people don't really eat at home. They eat in the restaurants. Child is going to school, everybody is giving some money to go and buy some rice in the restaurant. So this is not healthy. We don't find this in the parenting of the Vedic wisdom. And that is why even till now, apart India, the divorce rate is lower than any part of the world, comparatively. Because in traditional Indian culture, the woman, the wife, will pack the husband's lunch in the lunch bag and give it to them. They may not know what they are doing, but this is the science behind it. When somebody cooks in the family and the family members eat, that is a bonding. If you don't want to control by anybody, don't let that person cook for you. Oh, yeah. Someone is looking for you, know that you have been propositioned. Oh yeah? No, there's nothing free in this world. So we have to understand that when we even endeavor to cook for our children, we are creating a bonding in the family, a bond of love. If we give in money to our children to go and buy crackers and biscuits outside, we are creating a discord in the family. And those of you who read, you can read Govinda Lilamrita and see how Maharaja was very, very attentive to her child's need. Nanda Maharaja, was very, very attentive to the needs of his children. These things are there in our books. Not in mundane books, they're there in our books. We may read the Lila and repeat, we may read the Lila, get purified, but we should also think of the next step. What is the application principle here that will help to rejuvenate my spiritual life, that will help to rejuvenate my social life? It's time to go beyond paratology. It's time to go beyond paratology. Any comments or questions?
I find it so necessary to reinforce the fact of connecting with the child and the family through cooking. And it's also important not to bring a child into the world unless you're ready to deal with them. And the other point you made, which is so important, is even if you were raised maybe improperly, that's no excuse to repeat the procedure again.
Yeah.
You flip the switch, the switch you do what you want to have happen to you, if that makes any sense.
Thank you.
Those are really good points.
Thank you. Yes.
Maharaj, you mentioned parenting courses. Do you recommend anything specific? Do you recommend any particular courses?
Courses?
For parenting?
Oh, there are courses for parenting. You see, I'll tell you one thing. I have a cousin. He's a lawyer. His wife is a lawyer. And he told me, he took 2 lawyers. Before they got married, they went for 6 months pre-marriage counseling course. They are Catholics. I like this girl. Oh, I like this boy. Let's marry. And our marriages also in the past, I've not been taking statistics within the current period, but in the past I did some studies, and the marriage, the rupturing of marriages in our movement was skyrocketing. I mean, like 20, 15 years ago. And one of the things that we take into cognizance is that we are transcendental. We are above all those, learning all those skills about parenting or even checking compatibilities before we get married. We are Krishna battle. We are transcendental. So those things, they are for karmis. Those things, they are for karmis. We are devotees. If you are such a devotee, you don't need sex. If you are such a transcendental devotee, you don't really need sex. You want sex? Please be prepared for responsibilities. It is very demanding. Yeah. So we can always work out some things. But you see, sometimes we feel that we have Krishna, I'm Krishna Bhakta. I know everything. Good for you. I don't know everything. Yes, you may say I have a PhD in management science. See, PhD, anybody can have a PhD. PhD, you go and study one small thing. You can have a PhD in botany, but you study one leaf and make a whole 300-page dissertation on that. You just know a leaf. Yes. So let's also consider that we need what I would call a fallibilistic flexibility in our lives. So that we don't feel that we know too much, that we need help. I need help. I consult with even some of my disciples who are specialists in some areas. Is anybody here who is a psychosurgeon? Someone who does surgery on the brain? If you're a pure devotee, it doesn't mean that you become a psychosurgeon. let's be frank with ourselves. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Yes.
When is the first child ready to have a sibling, a new brother or a new sister? When can they be conscious to have a sister or brother?
Okay, that's a good question. You see, the gap should not be too much so that they can play. See, the other devotee, my mentee that came here with her husband, she, the two of our kids, just 2 years apart. And they play along and they're growing together, It's very challenging, okay, to have 2 little kids like that. But, you see, it creates a lot of bonding for the children. They will not feel isolated, they will not feel alone. Otherwise, you have to take your child to the, what is it? The place where they have to go and play with other children.
Daycare?
Yeah. Yeah, please try to understand me. I'm not blaming anybody, but this is a fault that is also outside there. We don't really know much how to foster children, how to take care of children. Unfortunately. But these are the people who are going to help us even when we get older. They are the ones to be there for us. So if we treat them nicely, they will remember the nice ways that they were taken care of, and they will be eager to come around when we are in need of their help. All right, it's 5 minutes past the hour. Maybe we have to adjourn this meeting now. Most of us will be leaving tomorrow, so for those that we may not meet before you leave, we're praying to their lordships for safe guidance, safe travels, safe flights to your respective destinations. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavatam ki jai.
Vasudeva Maharaja ki
Jai.